Hector Bravo, unhinged. Chaos is now in session.
Welcome back to our channels, Warriors. Another banger as we continue into season two. Today I have a special guest, a friend of mine by the name of Ashley, a licensed psychologist. A psychologist, guys, who may or may not have worked in the state of California at one point in time. What up, Ashley?
Hey, how you doing?
Good, you?
I'm well, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Oh man, this conversation is like a year or two in the making.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We've talked for a minute now.
Yeah. Probably a year.
A year?
Something like that. Yeah.
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 And you are a master at what you do, professional
Thank you.
psychologist?
Yes. So I have a master's in forensic psychology and a doctorate in clinical psychology. So I've worked in like institutions, forensics.
Damn. Yeah. Before we dive into all the juicy good stuff, where did you grow up at? What state?
I grew up in New Hampshire, actually. In the woods.
Hampshire?
Yeah.
When did New York come into play?
I went to school. When I went to undergrad, I went to New York. And then I kind of moved down in Long Island in the city and stuff. And then I came out to California to get my doctorate. And I've kind of been back and forth.
At what point in time in your life, as a young child, did you decide you wanted to be a psychologist, or did this come later on in life?
It's funny you asked that. We have like a essay for internships that we have to answer that question.
Okay.
So I didn't know. So I called my mom and she was like, well, when you were 11.
Wow.
So I used to think that I didn't know how to read very well. And then I picked up some like crime books. Mm-hmm. And so in like 6th grade, I got into the FBI profiler, John Douglas. I don't know if you've seen that show, Mindhunter.
Yeah.
So the book was written in like 92.
Yeah.
And so I read that. So when I went to the FBI building in DC, apparently I was like, I'm going to work here someday.
Okay.
So I wanted to go kind of like the profiler law enforcement route.
Which you did kind of do if you think about it. But
yeah, I mixed a little bit.
Right. When you visited that FBI building, was it a family vacation or something?
Yeah. Yeah, we were just going to like museums and
That's
all
so
that
cool.
stuff.
I think it's
like,
so cool that
go.
like at a young age, those trips can be impactful.
Yeah, and I didn't know. I had to call my mom.
No, that's us looking back in hindsight now.
Yeah. So I actually really wanted to do the profiling, and like it was kind of in the time too when Silence of the Lambs came out. So everyone's like, oh, you want to be like Clarice Starling or whatever.
Did you?
No, I didn't. I just genuinely liked
true crime.
Like true crime. I didn't see Silence of the Lambs for like until I was older. But I just like understood like behavior wise, and I don't know. So I wanted to do like the serial killer thing.
There is a huge infatuation with true crime, serial killers, and prison. Why is that from your point of view?
It's kind of like a fantasy world in a sense, and like, like romanticized in a sense, like the crime of like, like there's a couple of shows, but like Lifetime kind of started out as making it like this dramatic, romantic, like,
oh, you're right.
Husband cheats on the wife and
love
the
affair.
Wife. Yeah, like the like Fatal Attraction type of like whatever. And there's actually a name for
Tell us.
So like there's people who like Scott Peterson and like the Night Stalker, and they like write letters to them and like infatuated with them, right? Or, like people who unfortunately work in institutions and like have relationships with rapists and murderers and violent criminals.
Yeah.
So there's a term for it. It's called hybristophilia.
Hybristophilia.
Yeah, and it's like a attraction to violent offenders.
So if I'm a female correctional officer and I have sexual interactions with an inmate, does that make me one of those?
Yeah, so it's not like a technical like term that like is used in any way other than like that's just a name for it. Like there's all these philias that we have or whatever. Right. But I do think there is kind of like that's kind of like a perversion, like paraphilia, where like you're attracted to, inmates or criminals or whatever.
Oh, this is going to be a good episode.
Lots of opinions.
Humans in general, are we geared that way? Like almost to a dark side to us?
So it's kind of like, like that. What is nature?
Correct.
Like what, I think that, sometimes like a serial killer, for example, it's almost like the ultimate like freedom in a sense.
So I wasn't referring to serial killers. I was more so talking about like historical, like gladiator Rome fights, barbarianism, cavemen, the brutality. Is that embedded in our DNA?
I mean, I think it's like so it's almost like the ultimate freedom of like being able to be like human nature. I mean, if you look in nature, animals are violent. Like people go to like the pier to watch, the sea lions and stuff, and like the violence that you like coming from like a perspective of like this is violence. Like they're pushing each other off. They're like, mounting, each other and like it's just, but like there's just a certain level of violence and thing in nature, and like it's,
I'm so freaking glad that we're talking about this. Wow. I've never talked to a psychologist in public. It's usually in a confidential setting. Everybody's going to learn all my dirty little thoughts. I want to know what's normal and what's not.
It's good therapy.
No, for sure. So what does going to school consist of for this as far as like length wise and like programs?
Well, so I was not a scholar, so I took the long route. So when I was in high school, I took a psychology class, and like and actually someone brought a gun to my school right after Columbine. Like it was literally like the same month, I think. And I started like being interested in like, why would someone do something like that? Like what is going on in their head? And then I did a psychology class. And so I went to undergrad and did psychology with a criminal justice minor. And then that's when I was like getting into it. And then John Jay College of Criminal Justice in New York City, it's like a well-known criminal justice school. So I basically like begged my way into there because I didn't have a good enough GPA, and they were like, no. And I was like, one of my professors was just like, just keep bothering them.
Okay.
And finally, I think they just got annoyed with me and let me in.
That's cool.
And I got my master's in forensic psychology there. So I did a lot of like forensic assessments and like psychopathy stuff. And I worked at the forensic state hospital there and got a lot of experience working with people like criminals, like criminally insane. And then basically at that point I was just working off of experience to get into school.
Okay.
And my doctorate I got in clinical psych because it's like general, you can do anything with it. So but you didn't have to like take tests to get into my school. Like it was easier to get into. So all of my experience is what really got me where I'm at. So it took me I started undergrad in 99 and I got my doctorate in 2018. Now, if I count all the years that I went, it's 13 years. Most people could do that in 8 to 10 years.
So you mean to tell me there's different paths to reach the end of the tunnel, and there's different... Yeah. Okay, what's the average? Let's say you're
like 8 to 10 years to get a doctorate.
Average?
Yeah.
And you have one of those?
Yeah,
doctorate?
Yeah.
Yeah, you gotta excuse me. I'm from Brawley. I don't know what the hell. All I know is like associates,
well, my story
bachelors,
is complicated
masters.
Because it took me. Like I did not go straight through school, which like you can kind of tell in jobs. Like some people just go straight through school, and I just wasn't a scholar, so I had to take the long route.
That's why I like you, man. I don't like book smart people. I like street smart people.
I was like delivering pizza. I literally delivered pizza after I got my doctorate. Like,
wow, you're keeping it real.
I do not care.
So from what I'm gathering is that it was the curiosity that got your attention of all this crime and like probably thinking to yourself, why would this person do that?
Yeah, like what's the deal with people's heads? So the reason why I decided on psychology too and like working in institutions and stuff, because with the FBI and whatever, you're like, most of it's like records and studying. You interview the person like once, I wanted to be with the criminal like all day. Like, so if I work in an institution, I'm there, like I can ask questions. I can kind of like get.
Why is that? That's very interesting. That would have not even popped in my head, as opposed to, okay, my job is to interview somebody in an interrogation room or work long term with a mentally
all different
stable individual.
Yeah, I've worked with all different. Like I worked with people with developmental disabilities too, but like. Yeah, like I'm a behavior specialist too. So like I want to see all the behaviors. Like I want to see it all.
In your humble opinion, do you think you've seen a lot of different behaviors?
Yes. Yes. Like one of the reasons I like it too is because I've seen stuff that no one's ever going to see in their life.
That's probably a good thing for them, not for you.
It's just wild. Like some of the stories are just like, you can't make this shit up. Like you just can't. So I like to like the element of like, you just can't predict this stuff. And like, and also I like working with like different kind of, levels of mental health problems. But like, I do like to work with more like antisocial kind of manipulator, sociopath, psychopath types.
Okay. I'm getting this whole background of you. This is amazing. You're in New York delivering pizzas, begging to go to college. It takes you a lot of time. You make it. You're learning. You're hustling. You're grinding. You're volunteering at this time as well?
Well, so when I was going to get my master's, I got a job delivering pizza, working in a deli, working in a bar. And I went to school and I worked at like a group home for people with developmental disabilities, like all at the same time. Just because I really wanted to like live where I wanted to live and get that. So I really like lived my life too. Like I've, been around a lot of different people and seen a lot of different like cultures, and, New York's diverse like crazy. So
that's awesome.
So, when I work with people too, I kind of can bring this different element because I didn't just go through school and like live
in my humble opinion, nobody really likes book smart people.
If you're working in a place where you have to connect with people, walking around like everything, it's not the best way to do your job. Like I worked in a group home a day program for people with developmental disabilities, and it was, like I was like one of 2 or 3 white people at my job. And, a lot of times people come in with their masters and this is a behavior specialist. And like the staff would tell me, like just kind of like, nose in the air. Like I'm the one who runs the show here. And I didn't do that. So like eventually it kind of warmed up to me, but it's That's like, good. I can't do my job it's kind of like, any institution you work in, like a prison, a state hospital, you have the people that are dealing with safety, and you need them.
Right.
They're 24/7 working with the people. They know when something's wrong. And like just to walk around and be like, well, I know, how to make a behavior plan. I'm not going to take your input. It's just not good for anyone. But it's just not the way to be.
You're right. It's collaboration is huge.
Right. And I mean, some people just didn't, they just didn't have that happen for them. So it's not their fault, but
right.
It's just better when you have more life experience.
So you worked in state hospitals before?
Mm-hmm.
What would that be was that in New York?
New York and California. Actually, I worked for outpatient in California. But institutions, like pretty much institutions, and like agencies for people with developmental disabilities. County, I worked for a county juvenile crisis center for like 5150 kids. And
so we're going to break it all down. I know what developmental disability is, but could you explain to the crowd what developmental disability is?
So it's a lot of different things, but the basic kind of ones that people know. And there's different terms like intellectual disability, cognitive impairment, like a general ones like people with autism, people with Down syndrome, people that were born with some kind of brain dysfunction or something, and that impairs their ability to kind of process information and stuff like that.
What about a brain injury early on in life?
So that's more like a traumatic brain injury that affected you. So you could appear to have a developmental disability, and it's really like a brain injury.
Oh, okay. I always thought that it was developmental disability because I worked at a prison that was mental health.
Right. So when you get to adults, do you really know if it's a brain injury or developmental disability? You'll basically put them, because it comes to a level of like functioning. So I might have Down syndrome, and then you might have someone with a brain injury, and it looks similar, but it's two different things.
Elaborate on what you said when it comes to adults, because it kind of turned on a light bulb in my head. Like, does it get to a point where they just get to an age where you just lump them all up as one?
Well, so you have, with adults, you have 20 more years of like trying, stuff to tease apart. Like, so if you have someone who was born with something, then you kind of know that they were born with that. But if you have someone, say, in an institution, right? Is it drugs? Is it brain injury? Is it mental illness? Is it growing up without an education? Like, what is... But we lump them together because it's about their functioning level. Like, can they brush their teeth without someone asking, And that could be due to so many things. Again, like drugs. So by the time you're an adult, you have all this stuff.
This conversation just got juicier. Okay, so I happen to work for the prison system here in California, right? And there was a bunch of that, what you just said. There's freaking crackheads, drug addicts, motherfuckers, there's a whole... people pretending to be dumb. Well, you're probably thinking, Hector, you can't diagnose people pretending to be dumb. No, I could diagnose people pretending to be fucking dumb. Slow people. But I'm finally seeing it now that CDCR does a shit job of lumping everybody in. Now,
yeah,
is that conducive, not just that agency that I named, but a correctional setting in all 50 states? Should correctional settings do a better job of identifying each individual mental health problem?
So the problem with that too is like, I might work in a facility with like 5 other psychologists, and we all have a different opinion of what's happening.
Wow. Okay.
So it's all based on our own knowledge. So like for example, I worked somewhere and like there was this violent guy, very violent. He like beat a staff to like a seizure disorder basically.
Wow.
And when I came in, I was seeing it from like, cause I have a lot of experience with developmental disabilities. I worked with kids with autism. Like that was one of my first jobs. Like, so I can kind of like recognize things. So, he very clearly to me had like a cognitive problem, and the violence was a result of like not understanding things. So like if I'm trying to talk and someone doesn't understand me, or nobody understands me, I'm going to start to get upset and I'm going to act out. Or if I think people are talking about me because I don't understand what's going on, So I kind of was able to say, hey, you know what? He's not just like this antisocial violent guy. Like he's having trouble communicating. And he was, what do you call it? Like educationally neglected or something. Where basically like, there's no one making a kid go to school. They're just kind of free to do whatever. So he was not going to school. He was just kind of like working the streets for money because his parents weren't really taking care of him. So when I was able to kind of step in and say, this is cognitive, we have to like take it down a notch the way we speak to him, because he was probably like, what are you even saying to me? And then of course he acts out and gets angry. So having that experience changed the perspective, and we were able to kind of control the behaviors more because we understood it from a different point of view. But you have to kind of understand that stuff. So if you're grouping everyone together, right, you have to know you have to have some experience. You can't just like be like, oh, that's...
So if you're the doctor, and I'm a CO, and you tell me, hey, this guy has this guy fucking neglected as a kid. He doesn't, when he thinks he's being understood, he's going to fucking go off on you. Mm-hmm. And I say, okay, do I then, as a correctional officer, attempt to communicate better with him? And will that prevent him from attacking me?
I would say generally, yeah. Because think about it. If you have not 100%, I mean, it'd also be like a matter of like being consistent. Like if you're, you might get punched the first time. But if you get consistent,
that's the fucking first and the last time.
Yes,
thank you.
Right. If you're consistent and you're like, I'm trying to understand you, I'm going slow. Like, do you understand what I'm saying? Or like repeat it back to me. Eventually, you're gonna trust you enough, and they're gonna, now you can communicate.
Okay. Now I have a theory. Don't mind my theory. Don't mind my theory at all. And this is just a scenario. If in the event one of those inmates with that disability attacks myself or one of my partners, and I then utilize brute and overwhelming force, physical force to subdue this man, per policy and procedure, and I hurt him bad in the process, is he going to learn his lesson? Or does that actually agitate the symptoms?
If it's someone who like severe disability, like severe development?
Like the one you just mentioned. Like, let's say he punches me, right? Boom. And he catches me off guard and I just whoop his ass. Is he going to be a better person after the ass whooping?
Is anybody going to be a better person? Well, is anyone really, though?
Oh, this was an honest question.
I don't think that's necessarily the cure for it. Like, I think anyone who gets, like, basically held down and beat it's not going to be a good result.
The way I had always looked at it is like when the dog pees on the carpet and you rub its nose in it, it is less inclined to pee on the carpet. It's
a different thought process. It depends on the person, but it's a different process. Like, for instance, someone with a really bad head injury that affects this part of your brain. Sometimes it can make people more impulsive. So this area deals with impulsivity. So if I'm punched so many times or whatever, have some severe injury, now I'm more impulsive.
Is this a hippocampus?
No, that's like back. Okay. This is the frontal cortex.
Just trying to sound smart. Don't mind me.
Stay in your lane. No.
Stay in your lane. Is this the hippocampus?
Nice try of being smart.
Dude, if I would have nailed it, I would have fucking sounded so cool. Oh, bro. They would be like, this motherfucker.
Good try.
So that was my thought process. And I'm glad you told me that because me personally, I had to quit. I couldn't do it anymore.
Yeah.
No matter which way, right? Not that I ever did partake in any of that because I did not, for the record, but that was my thought process. My thought process was these guys only understand violence. Is that accurate?
Like inmates in general?
Inmates in general.
I think that a lot of people in institutions have sorry, I cry when I laugh. I think a lot of people in institutions have some pretty bad histories, and violence is normal. So the language is violence.
Right.
And like, I mean, prison's kind of a crazy place because it's almost in a sense like the ultimate freedom.
Explain.
And it's like swift justice. Like if you steal from someone as an inmate, there's swift justice.
That's swift justice, but I want to elaborate on the ultimate freedom part.
So there's no real, especially like say that you're a lifer. What are the consequences really? Like, yeah, you're going to have a hard time, but it's prison and, that's just the way it is. But it's like unless you're getting out soon and like need to follow the rules, it's just kind of like.
Could that be said for me, being out here in civilian life and being so close to death in the military that I kind of have that ultimate freedom? Or I kind of feel like, yeah, whatever?
I think of it in the sense of like when we were talking earlier about like violence being like nature. Like, in nature, animals are violent.
So,
like in the sense of like
to emphasize what you said,
human freedom, maybe.
To emphasize what you said is that in the prison system, There's ultimate freedom as a result of violence is the answer and the language in prison, and all this justice is swift.
I mean, this is a fucked up thought process, right?
It's the truth.
It's pretty much guaranteed that everyone in their lifetime has wondered what it's like to like kill somebody. Like wondered.
It's freaking crazy that you say that. Yeah, yeah. Hey, Warriors, if you haven't already signed up for our all-new website, HectorBravoShow.com, make sure you sign up at the link below, HectorBravoShow.com, to watch explicit, uncensored, never-before-seen prison footage. With that, love you. Keep pushing forward.
So, prison is a place where that's like, sometimes just kind of the norm. And
well, they're a dime a dozen. You throw a rock and you hit 5 of them.
I mean, like, I don't want to say, like, I'm not putting all the eggs in one basket, but, like, it's kind of like...
the devil's playground.
I mean, it's such a different world. It's its own world. It's its own government. It's its own... the penal system is, like, swift. Like, if you do something that is, like, highly disrespectful, then there's going to be consequences. There's no dragging things out and appealing things and, 20 years later and $1 trillion later,
now, from the mind of a psychologist, how do you view that? Honestly.
What do you mean, how do I view it?
How do you view it? Do you view it as just? Do you view it as fair? Do you view it as extreme?
That happens in prison?
The language of prison. The environment. Necessary? Is it a necessary evil?
I think it's necessary. I mean, you can't... If, like, say that, like, prison's different everywhere, right?
Right.
Like, so every country has different prisons, right? And I don't know where the most violent prisons are, probably like, El Salvador or whatever with that prison. But, like, it's pretty violent in the U.S., though. And to survive, I mean, you pretty much know if you get arrested, like, and you're going to jail or prison, you got to, like, defend yourself.
Now, if I was we'll role play here. If I was a level 4 inmate, GP killer, inmate Martinez.
What is level 4?
Level 4 is max security.
Okay.
So, like, the worst of the worst, as they say in California.
Okay.
High security. And I said to you, hey, Dr. Ashley, I'm a level 4. I'm in here for murder. I'm surrounded by I'm an active gang member. I would not like to continue this life of violence within these walls. Is there an answer to that?
I mean, like, in the American prison system, you would have to work that much harder if you're in that train of thought, right? If I want to change myself as an inmate in prison and make my life better, I'm not an inmate, but I'm going to have to use a lot of my own power and my own brain to decide that I want to do that. And in such a terrible environment where you're constantly, like, I mean, especially if you're in a gang, like, some people just don't have a choice.
Right.
And you have to have, like, a strong will, I imagine, to really change, because we're not providing a good enough environment for rehab. I mean, you see some of the prisons in, like, the South and wherever, where they're quite literally just, like, stripping inmates down and, like, dousing them with, like, a hose, like, treat them like animals. Like, do you expect society to get any better when you're treating them like that? And when you treat people like dogs, they're going to start acting like dogs.
I do agree with that. I do agree with that. But I also agree with, like, a happy median. Meaning not going too far this way or not too far that
totally.
way.
I mean, you have to have, like, I think you definitely need the security. You need everyone working together. But, in institutions, the mission is to keep the community safe, right?
Allegedly. But yes.
On paper.
Correct.
So that's the goal, right? To keep the community safe. That doesn't mean keep the inmates in. That means keep the community safe. So yes, keeping them in is part of that, right? Happy medium.
Right.
Keeping them in is part of that. However, especially with all these laws changing, they're letting people out. Do you want to be nice to someone and, like, they might be in your neighborhood one day and you can walk by them and be like, oh, hey, Dr. Ashley, like, you know, what's going on? Or do you want to be scared because that dude just got out and you treated him like crap and now it's going to be a menace?
We are going to unpack this monster that you just brought to the table, because I remember everything you said thus far, right? Would it matter how you treated anybody if some of them had those serious issues like serial killer brain mentality or social psychotic? Because whether you're nice or whether you're mean, they would still want to probably take your life.
You know, you never know.
What's his name? Richard Ramirez. I'm sure Richard Ramirez's victims were never mean to him.
Oh, no. And there were a lot of stranger victims.
Correct. So I heard what you said about, hey, treat people nice so they don't come out and kill you. Yeah.
So I worked in this place where I had this special group. It was inmates. And it was the same group of inmates all the time. So one of the points of the group is 4 hours a week. One of the points was like to build a little bit of trust as much as you can.
Okay.
You know? And they actually told me that they would sometimes be like on the yard talking about like which staff they would, you know, defend and which ones they just wouldn't. Okay. And one of the reasons for that is, you know, even if an inmate helps you, like say someone's beating you up and they help you, they get written up for that. So there's like this different dynamic, but they would literally say like the people who treat us like crap, like we don't.
Good. I'm glad you said that. And I agree. How much percentage of the population could you guesstimate are incarcerated that are, I would say, beyond hope? That there's nothing you can say or do to fix or reason?
I don't really believe anyone's beyond it.
Jeffrey Dahmer?
I was just about to say, except maybe some like serial, like psychopaths. You really can't do much with them.
But what's the percentage of psychopaths, would you say, in general population?
It's very small.
It's very small?
Very small.
Then it only seems big to us because it's publicized?
Well, so like, yeah, psychopaths kind of thrown around in an improper way.
It is?
So,
like, oh, my ex-chick is a fucking psychopath.
Yeah. So the majority of the population in prison has antisocial personality disorder, which part of that is sometimes, a lot of the times, kind of not like being cold. Like to be a gang member, you have to kind of be cold, right? You can't have empathy to carry out orders or whatever you got to do, you know? And so we interpret that as like a psychopath, but it's not necessarily the case. So the population of actual psychopaths is very small. It's the serial killers, it's the Ed Kempers and the, you know, Charles Mansons and the...
Let's talk about that part from your point of view. Because from my experience, I have seen what you're saying. Gang members that just, you know, because the human brain doesn't stop developing, what do they say, till 26?
25, 26.
25, 26. They join gangs at 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 years old. So pretty much they're indoctrinated ideology. This is what they're learning, developing. I don't even know where I was going with that. But pretty much that I've come to see that a lot of inmates, that's what they experienced, right? Mm-hmm. They weren't necessarily, hey, you're a bad fucking human being forever.
Right.
You should be written off and cast away.
Right.
Because I have seen hope where they've recovered from that mindset.
Yeah.
What's your take on that?
I mean, one of the problems is that we just don't have enough services. There's staffing crises in institutions. There's not enough staff. People are getting underpaid. They're getting abused. You know, you work in like a prison or an institution, you're getting spit at. You're getting, you know, whatever unknown substances thrown at you. You're getting cursed out. You're getting hit. You're getting, you know, and you're going to have an environment where, especially if you have a trickle down from higher ups of like not caring, then you're going to have a bad environment for people to get better. If you're treating if you treat your staff well, it trickles down and they treat
correct
the patients or the clients or whoever better. But when you have people higher up, not recognizing, like, even just thank you, like, for risking your life today.
Culture,
the culture of it. So it's just not conducive to change. Like, if we actually spent the amount, it would be cheaper to have, and this is just I didn't read articles recently, but if they spent money on community services, like, sports YMCAs and, sports and whatever for poor communities, they'd be spending less money on that than they do on the prison system.
Facts, 100%.
Illegal fees. I mean, you got people on death row. It's like millions of dollars. Like, you're doing appeals. You're having all this money dumped into. And for what?
Every time I bring up a topic with you, it just opens up another Pandora's box. Reason being is because now I'm saying...
We need a whole season.
Because, now what I'm getting to is when you said, hey, all we have to do is target the youth, invest in the youth, and it will prevent this. But haven't you come to realize, or have you realized that this is all a money-making scheme?
Yeah.
At the expense of people?
Oh, completely. I mean, one of the reasons why I like what I do is because I know the system's messed up.
Facts.
And I kind of use the, like, if I can just make one patient laugh, I did my job, like, in my life. But, like, that's, it's a hard system to work in because...
Dang.
You have to develop dark humor to, like, survive. But, like,
wow.
That's one of the reasons, because I always wanted to work with... I got to a certain point where I wanted to work with the people that nobody cared about.
I'm thinking if they put me and you in charge of something, I'm pretty sure we would have run it effectively.
I think so.
And get positive results.
I think so. Yes. Yes. Yeah. And it's just sad. I mean, it's not that hard to be nice.
Let me ask you.
If anything, just fake it.
Does group punishment have an impact on the mindset of an inmate? Meaning, if I'm a Mexican and I get involved in an incident, all Mexicans go on lockdown. If I'm a black and I assault a staff, all blacks go on lockdown. Does that have an effect on the inmate psyche as a whole? Group punishment?
I mean, it could, because it's almost like damned if I do, damned if I don't. Like, I might get in trouble anyways, so might as well get in trouble. You know what I mean?
That's what I used to tell my ex-wife all the time. I was always in the doghouse for nothing.
Right.
So I figured, like, okay.
Well, it's kind of like, when you accuse someone of cheating, eventually that person cheats. Because if you're going to accuse me of it anyways. So it's kind of like, I think, the similar thing. Like, if you're going to hold us all responsible, then fuck it, I might as well make it worth it.
I laugh because I no longer work there, and I agree.
Like, fuck, man. And I'd be having a field day if I was an inmate.
And I'm not even knocking them, right? Because they recently put all prisons on California on lockdown, and even the ones that were not partaking in the bullshit, there was said there was an increase in all kinds of violence, but
That's gonna lower violence. Putting everyone on lockdown.
Yeah, the individuals that they locked down were general population inmates as opposed to sensitive needs yards inmates. And I'm like, wow, dude, what you're gonna do is...
So what does lockdown entail?
I mean, you ain't fucking leaving your cell. So
can you get, like, visitors? Like,
no,
is it all visitors?
They slammed visits too. So I'm like, you know what? This is gonna
like. See, this is the opposite of what, because once you let those guys out, what's gonna happen? There's gonna be riots like crazy.
Yeah, so
crazy. I'd be banging on those doors, man.
I'm really in a conundrum, but I'm glad you're here to paint the picture and show your perspective that you see the exact same thing from your point of view.
Yeah, well, I mean,
who suffers? Who suffers? Inmates, COs, free staff, the families. Who suffers as a result of all this mayhem?
You could pretty much say everybody except for the people who don't care. People, the people who don't care.
The people who don't care. We're looking at you.
But it affects everyone, because if you think about it, like, okay, we treat, so-and-so inmate like crap. He's miserable. He's angry at society. He's got a kid out there. Kid follows in his footsteps. I mean, it's just such a trickle down. It affects everybody. Any violence that's happening is a result of, whatever, trickle down for the most part. I mean, Jeffrey Dahmer's doing his thing, but
narcotics, drugs. You mentioned that in the beginning of this episode, that oftentimes contributes to psyche or mental health issues. What are some of the effects that drugs can have on the brain? Long-term effects.
Well, let's see. Then they all have different effects.
Well, like the good drugs, meth, heroin, fentanyl.
They basically can like mess up your cognitive abilities. Some people get psychotic, like you might have a bad trip on something, and now you're having hallucinations or something. Or like people who do meth are like super paranoid. It can, some people get like permanent like brain damage from substances. I mean, alcohol is really bad. You can die.
Yeah.
You can end up with seizures because of alcohol withdrawal, and like
that's
another point. I mean, I've had patients and stuff that died like 3-4 times from ODing. Like how messed up must your brain be when it actually died, pretty much.
Right.
And multiple times. So it depends on like what your use was, what you were using.
Wow.
How much you used. I mean, substances are crazy now because they got all types of weird stuff in them.
You mentioned you were a forensic a behavioral health specialist.
Behavioral specialist, yeah.
But you also have knowledge in substance abuse?
Yeah, so I basically specialize in like trauma.
Yeah.
And I would say in a sense kind of like with developmental disability is kind of one of my things too. And just behavior, but a lot of it's trauma. So along with that comes like substance abuse,
self-medication,
brain injuries, and yeah.
Earlier, I asked you the percentage of true psychopaths and serial killers. You said it was very, very, very small.
Yeah.
How about substance addicted people?
Percentage, like in the population?
Yeah.
A lot.
What about like within prison?
In prison, a large population. I mean, if they're not doing them now, they probably had some. I mean, I've met even like patients, I'm going between like patients at the state hospital and prison, but like I had a kid I worked with, his parents gave him acid when he was 5. Like, meth's on the table when they're like 7, and that's what mom does when she's upset. So, I'm just picking it up off the, a lot of people in lower income areas, drugs are just more rampant.
So I know you're not a cure-all, fix-all person that can wave a magic wand, right? But I try to ask questions where the viewers can watch and gain an understanding of maybe why they operate or think the way they do. What if I was inmate Martinez, came up to you and I said, hey, I grew up in this household that was fucking meth on the table. Mm-hmm. My pops was always slamming heroin in the bathroom. I'm addicted to heroin. I want to kick it. I need to kick it. Like, what kind of advice or professional would you say to a person like that to guide them away from utilizing dope?
Well, when it comes to some things like with, heroin, like you got the whole methadone, Suboxone thing. And so that's always something that you're always like, is this something we should explore, like getting methadone? And then, it's different stages of when people are ready to quit things. So like, it's kind of like investigating, like, why do you want to quit? Like, what are the pros and cons? And, just helping someone contemplate, because sometimes people just aren't ready, or,
Yeah.
I give people in institutions a lot of credit because I don't know. I mean, there's so many reasons to do drugs in an institution. Like,
I guess
so many reasons.
I understand what you're saying. It does boil down to willingness, because I got 14 years of sobriety from alcohol, coming up on 15. Thanks. So it does. But I guess what I was hoping, like maybe to give hope to other people that, hey, you're not the only one out doing with this experience. There's other people that have experienced the same thing you have.
Yeah. See, so I guess I'm going to do a little ad here for this. There's this program called the Compassion Prison Project.
Okay.
Have you heard of that?
Never.
It goes to different California prisons. And this woman leads it, basically. Her name's Fritzy. I don't remember her last name. I met her once, but she does like it's called ACEs, Adverse Childhood Experiences. That kind of like, you know, either parents curse at you or you beat or you know, whatever. And she does this circle, and there's a video, it's called Step Inside the Circle, and it's at this one prison, and there's like 200 dudes like in a circle. And she reads them off like one by one, like, you know, take a step forward if you were ever called names, you know, growing up. Take a step forward if you ever hit, you know, for being bad or whatever the case may be. And they keep getting closer and closer. And as they're realizing they are not alone, like the videos are showing them like having group talks about how like they think they're alone. And, you know, I thought I was the only one who went through this. And now I know like 90% of these people, because, you know, there's a certain toughness of like, you're not going to talk about all your traumas,
especially in
cry.
Men. Primarily in men.
Yeah. And that's one thing too that, you know, sometimes we do in mental health and like prison, where like, you know, feelings and cry and da da da, and then we're like, yeah, you should have all these coping skills and keep continuing doing them on the yard. You can't cry on the yard. You can't, you know, you're not going to be in a single cell probably. You can't, you can't do all that stuff. It's not conducive to the whole environment. So some of that stuff gets like it works there, but and you know, a lot of people doing substances, that's how they learned how to cope to begin with. So how we have to give them a tool instead of it. But a lot of times we just take away the substance, and what are you supposed to do with nothing?
It's so deep. It's wild, man. That was when you were telling me that, I was getting like kind of chills. It's very impactful. And I totally understand people's experiences. Like, man, I've met a lot of people in life, and a lot of people have had fucked up lives.
Well, and, you know, they could go all over. You know, people I've worked with, especially in prisons, are some of the realest people I've ever met, because they've seen so much. And a lot of times too, they can read people because of survival, right? I need to read my environment. So they know what's going on. And a lot of times people who don't understand that kind of dismiss, oh, like they don't really know what they're talking about, and, you know, kind of dismiss that. But just a realist, I mean, you can't really meet too many like fake, like, you know, people in those situations, because I mean, you can obviously, but for the most part, people that have a lot of trauma are kind of like real, very real.
People that have a lot of trauma are real. Why is that?
They've seen more of life. Like, you know, if I live in a bubble my whole life, like, how can I be real, really? Because I don't understand life. I mean, a lot of people are thrown in adult situations when they were like very little and see the world on higher levels than someone who's just kind of like, ignorance is bliss, which is fine too.
A young combat veteran that goes to war at the age of 18, 19 and sees atrocities and participates in atrocities and comes back home, is his experience real as opposed to the next person that never experienced that?
No, I think it's more of like real in the sense of like, you have now a bigger view of the world and how things work. So I can understand the world better, even if it was bad, because I'm seeing these bigger things. I'm seeing how people interact. I'm seeing what is important to people, you know, power, violence, whatever the case may be. You're seeing how people are. And if you're not getting, you know, I don't wish trauma on anybody, but
correct,
you're seeing things from perspectives that really you're not supposed to, especially at a young age, but you're going to view situations in a totally different way than someone who's never experienced that.
Is ignorant bliss? Is there a perk to be completely naive and ignorant?
I think there's...
Or will you hit a wall at some point in your life and reality will smack you?
I mean, I think people go through life like ignorance is, but I mean, I think it must be a great way to be.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Like, I would love to not know what the hell is going on in the world. Like,
no shit.
I
don't even want to be
the
doing.
news. I've never even watched that. Like,
no. Yeah, if I had a choice not to do this podcast or to do this podcast, like
it's like like one of my friends a long time ago, it's like a blessing and a curse. It's a blessing because you can like see the world, but it's a curse because you can see the world.
That's so funny because I look at my 7-year-old daughter and I'm like, oh, she's so innocent, and I preserve that and I try to protect that. And I'm like, God, I wish she could just hang on to that forever.
It was I was at the beach with my friend recently and there's this little girl and she was just like, I don't know, she must have been like 4 or something. And she was just like blonde hair. Like she started doing like snow angels in the sand.
Yeah.
And she's like, she dragged her chair up to the top of the lifeguard pile of sand. And like, she'd like look at us and then we look at her and she's like, oh, like run away. And she just popped her chair down and like just in the sun was just
chilling.
And I was like, to be her right now must be just heaven.
Absolutely.
And she was soaking it in. Like I was like, she's beyond her years because she was just like,
I'm telling you.
She had her sunglasses on, like
wow.
And it was just, I would love to live in that moment if I were, as her for like ever.
Yeah, but I believe once the veil has been lifted, there's no unseeing it. Once you've seen it, you can't unsee it.
Yeah, no. I mean, think about like if you were abused really badly in your home, you've seen some shit, right?
Yeah.
And then you go to school and Sally's complaining about like she got the wrong color shoes for her birthday. You're as that other child, you're going to be seeing the world in a different way. Like, well, at least you have shoes.
Right.
Like at least you can choose a color.
What is there to say about the mindset for people that have not experienced certain experiences or trauma, but yet try to insert their opinion on the people that have? Meaning, I personally came out 3 years ago and exposed my former employer. But there's other individuals saying like, that guy doesn't know what he's talking about. What that guy's saying is not true. I know for a fact they have not experienced what I have experienced.
Right.
But does that say anything? Or are both people wrong?
I mean, I think
both people right.
I mean, it's all about perspective, right? Whatever your perspective is, that's fine. I mean, everyone puts up blinders to some information,
Yeah.
There's different reasons for that. People, maybe it's a defense mechanism.
Self-preservation.
Yeah.
La, I can't hear this. None of this is real.
It could be like defensive, like I'm going to keep like to maintain my job and to maintain my life, I'm going to just act like this is like not. It's true.
It's like that meme where the dog's on fire in the bar and it's like, this is fine.
I'm fine. It's fine. Everything's fine. I think that, I mean, for me, that's just kind of like closed-minded.
Well, like now we're gonna change gears a little bit.
Okay.
We're gonna change gears a little bit. I want you to talk about the effects of mental health being in an environment as a staff member, let's say in an institution, when everything is just burning down around you. What kind of effect would that have on your mental health?
So like burning down, like in what way?
Vindictive bosses, violations of policy, unfair, unsafe practices.
I mean, you have to have a supportive environment. I mean, morale is everything. If in institutions you have potlucks, right? Mm-hmm. Everybody loves a potluck, you know, that keeps morale up. Like when you have parties and you're like, and just saying thank you could change someone's whole entire day. Like, someone appreciates me, and there's going to be less abuse going on if you're treated well. You're going to treat other people well. And the morale is what's needed. People, it's thankless jobs that, people don't give anyone credit for. I mean, as like an officer, you don't know what you're going to, like, if you're coming home tonight, like, and that's not, it's just like you're just another body, and like if something happens to you, we really care less. We're just going to replace you. Like that's institutions.
But what about, because we talked about violent individuals performing violent acts. What about staff members that are exposed to violence on a continuous basis?
Well, there's higher rates of domestic violence, say, in correctional jobs. You know, there's like higher rates of substance use in correction. There's higher rates of suicide in correctional officers, correctional staff. You know, I think correctional staff and correctional officers specifically have the most problems, essentially, like with domestic violence, suicide, substance use. You know, the suicide's high in like police officers too, but like I think corrections specifically is, I mean, you're working long shifts, right? You're there your whole life, basically. You're seeing violence. You're not getting treated well. It's just a snowball of not good. You know, nothing good. I mean, you're living in this terrible situation. You're constantly being traumatized to the point where it's just normal.
Holy shit. You're constantly being traumatized to the point where it's normal.
I mean, think about like how many times have inmates seen people murdered after a certain point? It's like, I mean, if you're a gang member and you're living on the streets as a kid, like how many times you got to see someone get murdered before it doesn't affect you anymore?
That is not a good place to be. It is not a good place to be, to see witness murders and it not affect you, or dead bodies and it not affect you, whether it be by suicide or by overdose.
I mean, how many like stories you hear from like people in institutions, hospital, or anything where it's like violence is just a regular, like it's just like matter of fact stories. Like,
so
okay.
if we cut out all the bullshit, right, and you are the mental health professional, and I gave you $1 trillion and a magic wand. You know, where you're not trying to gain anything from anyone or sell any type of fucking dog and pony show, what would be the accurate treatment or beneficial treatment to help officers in this manner?
Well, just having support too. I mean, it's recognizing the problems and doing something about it. The problem is it's like recognize there's nothing being done about it. Like, for instance, like, okay, something happens at prison, right? And you have to write a report, right? And then 2 months later, I'm like, hey, you know, officer, tell me what happened, you know, da-da-da-da-da. How well can you really remember what happened?
Not much.
Okay, do you know poor memory is a result of PTSD, sleep loss? So really, you're being traumatized all the time, which impairs your memory. You're working overtime all the time, which impairs your memory. And then you're constantly being held accountable for your memory.
Which is why I quit my job and quit my marriage. Honestly, it was fucking it was overbearing. It was fucking crippling to me.
Well, so I'm very close to someone who has trauma from war and working in the prison.
Yeah.
And, you know, I'll tell him stories 500 times. Like, I don't care. I'm like, remember that? And I'm like, you don't remember. I'm just going to tell it again. It's almost like fun for me to just tell the story again. But, like, I'm aware that he doesn't remember, and I don't get mad at him for that.
So, I mean, I don't want to try to throw nobody under the bus, but what if somebody's like, oh, you have selective memory. You have selective memory. You only want to...
Just hand him a sheet of criteria for trauma and sleep loss. Poor memory. Okay. Depression.
No,
this
is good. This is good. At what point should a human identify what type of extreme environment they're in, the effect it's having on their mental health, and then thirdly, make a decision to either leave or stay in that environment?
So I work with some people right now that works in prisons, and I think that in institutions in general, I think you don't notice it's that bad until it's that bad. And then what I've noticed is people looking back and being like, why didn't I do anything about that? Why did I not notice then? And, you know, I'm thinking about someone specifically, like really struggling with, like, I was seeing this stuff for years and I didn't. And it's just kind of like, well, that's just what you were told to do. You came to work, you did your job. There wasn't time to think about that. And then it starts setting in when it's getting really bad. And then, you know, you kind of have to make a decision to save yourself and your mental health.
That, and it's a gradual, you know, it's kind of like when you get in a relationship with an abusive person. They don't fucking beat your ass on the first date.
Right.
They manipulate you and then they eventually reel you in where you're out of. That's how me being an employee for the last prison system that I worked for was like.
Yeah.
It wasn't initial. You don't see the bullshit initially.
Well, right. And you don't. The more you do it, the more you get it. So there's also going to be a level of that. And I'm sure there's a level of like, I need this job. It's a good job and I make money. So I'm just going to, you know. So I'm just going to not worry about this crap. But then you know, the people who get burnt out are the ones who really want to do the right thing, or like they care a lot about other people and they don't like to see other people being abused, like
Correct.
Inmates or patients or staff, whatever. I think it just gets to like a breaking point for someone, and you know, institution or like anywhere like that, you have to decide, like, is my mental health, like, is this really worth it?
So is the act of suicide a result of the ultimate end of the mental health process failing?
Like, what do you mean? Elaborate.
Okay. Hey, my name is Hector Bravo. I work in a prison. I've seen a lot of trauma. I'm suffering. My bosses are assholes. I'm suffering. I am now committing the act of suicide. Bam. Does that mean that like everything else failed up until that point? Because that's the fucking final straw. There's no coming back from that.
It's not necessarily. I mean, I'm sure. Yeah, there's situations for sure. There's failures in the system or failures in whatever. You know, yeah.
Because I don't believe that's somebody's go-to. No,
nobody wants to. I'm going to get like DBT, like one of my therapies. Like everybody wants to do the best they can. Everybody wants to be happy.
Okay.
Like even someone on the street, like, you know, methed out or, you know, fucked up.
Yeah.
Still wants a better life. It's just they're doing the best with what they have. They don't, you know, you can't, some people just can't. They seem like they're doing bad to themselves and making a choice, but everybody wants a better life. But I think it also depends on, like, you know, we all have different levels of being able to actually cope with stuff in general.
Okay. There's this topic of suicide is like taboo.
Resilience.
Huh? Resilience?
Yeah.
Resiliency.
Yeah.
So you're saying that resiliency plays a role in suicide attempts or suicide acts?
It decreases the chances if you're more resilient to things. Some people are more vulnerable to. I mean, it depends. It depends on so many
What if
factors.
I'm a resilient man? Okay. I'm a resilient guy. I went to war.
Yeah.
I came back. I'm resilient. I joined CDCR. It was fucking out of control. I quit. I'm resilient.
I think it's just mental pain. It just comes down to how much mental pain can you actually handle? Like, how much can you take? Like, so one of the reasons I went into psychology was because the kid brought a gun to school, right? And I know why he brought a gun to school.
Why?
He was getting made fun of regularly. And, you know, kind of the typical situation. Like, he was just getting bullied a lot. And so my question was, like, how much pain must you be inside to decide you're going to just kill a bunch of people and then kill yourself? Like, how much pain to make that decision? Now, I'm not saying, like, you know, any excuse for that, but, like, the physical pain, that emotional stuff, you know, I think that's where the breaking point is, that I physically can't take this anymore.
At one point in time, within the California Department of Corrections, all prison gang organization leaders were housed away in security housing units from the Mexican Mafia, Nuestra Familia, Black Guerrilla Family, and the Aryan Brotherhood. Uh-huh. Does sitting in isolation for 30 years, 3-0, cause mental pain and mental anguish?
I would say in the majority, yeah. I mean, I think there is people that can survive like that and they're fine with it. But, I mean, that's how prisons started, by, like, putting hoods over their heads and not letting them talk to each other. And, you know, like the Eastern State Penitentiary in Philadelphia, that's how it was set up, like, in the beginning. Like, I think that's where penitentiaries came from.
Wow.
It was like a spider. So it was like a circle in the middle, and then, like, and anytime they came out of their cell, they put a hood over their head. They couldn't talk. They had, like, their own little yard. I mean, even I don't know. I watch a lot of prison history shows. And they found over time that actually makes things a lot worse. People go crazy. They get psychotic just from being isolated.
Is that by design?
To make people psychotic.
Yes. Is that by design? By the brains up at the top of the organizations or behind the scenes?
It wasn't originally.
It was not originally?
No, I do believe that originally there was a desire to rehab
good
people.
Intent.
Like good intent.
Okay.
Like the history shows I've seen about prisons, that was the intent, is like reform, and like that's what they thought would make people better. And their beliefs back then were not necessarily, yeah, granted, there was definitely places where they just wanted to imprison people, but now it seems
now
like
it's a business.
More of a punishment.
No, it's a punishment, but it's a business. It's a money-making scheme.
There's different motives, especially like the private jails and stuff. They like charge inmates for like sandals and sheets and toilet paper. And
you're not for getting charged sandals, sheets, and toilet paper if you're an inmate?
I think they should have like basic stuff.
What about Sheriff Joe Arpaio from Arizona?
Pink underwear guy?
Yeah, what's your thoughts on that whole tactic back in the day?
Okay. I would love to sit that guy down, and I'm sure he's been sat down many times and be like, why pink like what is the theory?
Well, it was embarrassment, right? Allegedly.
Okay, so did he do some research on how embarrassment puts people back in line?
I'm fucking glad I have you here today.
Like, does he do research on like if I embarrass these motherfuckers, they're gonna?
The more that I talk to you, the more I'm starting to realize that people just do dumb ideas without thinking things through.
No, like where'd you find the research?
And convince other people to follow along with their bullshit. Reminds me of Nazi Germany.
Like,
let me ask you about Nazi
like,
Germany.
Not for nothing, but bro, you're like a sheriff. Like, when did you learn about how to reform inmates? And who told you that pink underwear was going to be the cure?
Yeah, but then you have old school
That's
guys.
Some weird
you
ass
have
shit,
old
man.
school
That's
guys.
Like perverse too. Like
but
you're a dude with a bunch of staining a bunch of dudes' underwear pink. That's what.
But what if you have old school prison guards? They're like, hell yeah, embarrass them. That's what they need. Fucking embarrass them. Is that still part of the same mindset?
I think there's a degree of embarrassment. Yeah. Like, for instance, I'm don't quote me, but I'm pretty sure part of sex offender treatment, there is treatments that are essentially like embarrass them. But I can't speak to that fully because I don't. But I mean, like if you're walking down the tier and, as a female or whatever, they do it to dudes obviously too, but and you get yourself, someone exposes you. If you're like laugh at them, say, or like, I know people have been like, I can't see.
Right.
That's going to register in a sense.
It is going to register?
Sometimes.
So if I'm go ahead.
But that's like a deeper thing than like, oh, I'm going to make you prance around in pink underwear. Like,
right.
Get the hell out of here.
So from the mindset perspective, how, you don't kind of have to.
If that worked, why don't we just have pink underwear in every place? And
well, I don't think it's so much to work. I thought it was more to send a message as opposed to working, or what doesn't send a message?
Doesn't send a message that you're putting them out in tents. I don't know.
You know what I mean? Maybe a deterrent, maybe a deterring factor.
Right, but again, where's the research? Who told you that pink underwear embarrassment was going to save all the inmates from being violent or whatever, never coming back? I guess, I guarantee there was definitely people that were like, I'm not coming back here where it's pink underwear. I'm sure it did to a degree, but.
Well.
It was also that they were living in tents outside, like,
true.
In terrible conditions. That was what really turned people off. Like, I'm not coming back here. It's not because of pink underwear. It's because we got no showers. We're outside in the desert.
I hear you.
So it was pink underwear, though.
It's funny. Because you mentioned living in tents, no showers. In the military, you do that as well all day long. But I do understand the differences between prison, military, circumstances.
Yeah, well, I'm sure at times you're like, I'm never fucking coming back here again. Like, these fucking tents, man. I'm not with it. I want a shower.
So, again, this question is going to be kind of like intense. Hopefully you can break it down.
Okay.
Nazi Germany, right? I don't know your education or knowledge on the whole situation, But how does that happen, right? A man by the name of Hitler, he's like the one guy at the top of the hierarchy. He has his SS soldiers. Then he convinces the rest of the Nazis, and then the rest.
It's a gang mentality. You know about the Stanford Prison Project?
Mm-hmm. Groupthink.
Yeah, it's like a gang mentality.
So that had an impact.
It's a
go along to get along.
It's a cult-like thing. You know, it's like there's some other I don't know, maybe it's a joke or something. Basically, like there's like 5 monkeys and there's like a banana or something, and every time someone goes up and touches the banana, you know, a bucket of water falls down or something. Okay. It's totally not what it was, but
yeah.
So then they start switching out, like putting a new monkey or whatever in, and they would get like water, you know, like they would go for the banana and the water would dump. So eventually they started to learn not to go up that ladder, but they didn't know why.
Right.
So they were getting to a point where they didn't really know why this was happening. They just knew not to do it. So sometimes it just turns into things because, you know, whatever, you know, you might be getting punished in some sense, or, you know, when you're getting threatened into behavior, I mean, you know, like they just didn't want to get their ass beat anymore. So they're not going to walk up that ladder and see what's up there because they already know they're going to get their ass beat, or there's water going to fall on them. You know, they don't know why. It doesn't matter anymore.
Right.
I don't know. That stuff's complicated though, because that's like
it's really real, not like, though. It's like brain. It's humans.
It's kind of like Charles Manson type thing on a smaller scale.
You know, I've been watching Charles Manson's videos on YouTube, and although
he's a good singer,
huh?
He's a good singer.
Although he is crazy, he's also smart.
Oh yeah.
Can you elaborate on crazy people that are smart? Is that a thing?
Well, what do you mean? I mean,
like people like, who did they say? Einstein. Like that dude was like dumb, but actually like a fucking genius.
No, he wasn't dumb. So apparently he had like autism, they say.
Not that I call people with autism dumb.
I have to be, you know.
Yeah. I thought this dude was like.
You can say whatever you want.
No, that's not. I wanted to make a clarification.
No, yeah. So there's. Yeah, it just depends on like what part of the like perspective you might be seeing things that other people don't. I don't know. I always am like kind of like someone who's psychotic or something. Maybe they're just seeing a different perspective of life. I don't know. You know, sometimes I think like we don't really know what's going on. Like, I don't know. I have a patient who thought he was Satan. Like, I don't know. Maybe you are. Like, who am I to say, you know, that you're wrong? Because nobody's crazy until you tell them they're crazy.
You know what is crazy is like I kind of been holding off the whole schizophrenia topic and stuff like that. I'm kind of just holding, you know, keeping topics in my back pocket. I don't want to go there yet. I want to still talk about staff members and mental health.
Ashley and Hector, season 8.
Oh man, we can do something. Yeah, we'll spice up this background right here.
Oh hell yeah. Zeus needs a
what
friend.
Coping skills can one use? I mean, if you're a CO and you're going through it, right? I guess in a nutshell, I'm trying to prevent fucking more COs from offing themselves. Realistically, what coping skills can they do, or what option do they have to do prior to making that decision?
Well, so what would be wonderful is if officers had time to do anything, and there was like groups of, you know, vent about, you know, like support groups, you know. But the problem is that, especially in like, you know, medical staff too, they're like mandated all the time too. You don't even have time to do anything to help you feel better. You know, especially if you have a family. I can't even imagine, like, you're driving an hour to work, you're driving an hour back, that's 2 hours.
Yep.
You're working 16 hours, that's 18 hours.
Yep.
But that leaves 6 hours left to sleep and spend time with your family.
That's not gonna happen.
But you're also making a lot of money, so it's like, I mean, depending on where you're working. But so it's like, well, you're supporting your family. You got to support your family. How are you supposed to have time to even do anything for your mental health? Unless it was like at work, you know, happening at work, which is why you have to have kind of good morale, because
right,
that's mental health.
Oh, dang. When you put it that way, that's a lot. That's heavy. And then you add the home problems. Got the wife sleeping with
domestic
Tyrone.
violence.
You
Yeah,
got the
maybe
wife sleeping with Tyrone.
What shift do you work?
Kids on drugs.
If you work the, you know, first watch, like when you get home and your wife's going to work and, you know, you have to sleep and feed the kid. And then next thing you know, you got to go back because it's like 6 hours later. And like,
yep.
like the amount of, I mean, you know, you got to eat lunch on your shift. Like you're not even like, or eating coolers that people have are like insane.
Now that
like
we're on this,
it's not enough time.
Now that we're on this conversation and you're the professional, is the job of correctional officer made for just anyone and anybody?
No. No. I mean, you know that. Come on, you know that. Come on. The job of anyone working in an institution isn't like, you know, there's plenty of regular staff, like people in my field too, that like aren't made for it, you know? Yeah. Well, that's the other thing too. It's how you handle it, right? Like I've seen people get very upset for being called names by clients and stuff. And it's like, like that's, if you're going to get your panties in a bunch every time someone calls you an asshole, like you're going to have a hard time. You know what I mean? Like you're going to have a real hard time. But like, you know, I would just be like, you know, you're entitled to your own opinion. Have a nice day, you know? So it's also like
tough skin.
Yeah. And like dark humor.
So let's go
100%.
over basic qualities that would benefit a person entering the field of corrections. Tough skin.
Being able to have dark humor. I tell that to I teach too, and I supervise students, and I always, you know, if you're going to work in corrections or state hospitals where there's suicide and violence and, you know, especially suicide is like a whole nother thing, you know, like, especially in other institutions like state hospitals and stuff, but like, you have to be able to say stuff that you can't say in the community. That's for sure. Like if I said some of the stuff outside you, but we can understand it. You know, we can joke about things that you're not supposed to joke about because if you take that all in, like if I took in every suicide and everyone who wanted to kill themselves and everybody's story about how, you know, the terrible abuse in childhood they had, then I would not last very long.
Makes sense.
You can't take that all in. That's too much. You know, it's like vicarious trauma, and then you're being traumatized, just especially as officers.
Is that a thing, vicarious trauma?
Yes.
That is a thing.
Yeah.
What are some examples?
So, you know, in working with pretty much everyone I work with has trauma, I'm hearing hundreds of people's trauma, you know, like, so I'm getting traumatized by other people's trauma. So, like, you know, if, like, there's been a couple stories that have sat with me, but like, if you are like locked in a closet, like naked and like being beat and, you know, the dog's let into the closet and you're getting abused and like, it's just, I don't even know where I'm going with that, but it's like,
did that happen to somebody?
Yeah. And you carry it home. Okay. So vicarious trauma. Yeah. Sorry. I was lost.
Fuck, you were fucking reliving. You were having a flashback of a trauma that never happened to you.
That's stuck in my head. Yeah. And like when I get like specifically traumatized.
Dude, we got that shit on camera. I'm fucking nuts. Like, I was wondering where the hell you were going, but you're back, actually.
Yeah, like so yeah, like trauma, like, and I know when I get specifically traumatized because I drive home in silence. I can't listen to the radio. Like I can't, like I'm like, yeah, this one story just was like so traumatic. So now I'm traumatized because I heard that story. Or, you know, like again, hundreds of stories. I mean, I can't even tell you how much I've heard. Like it's, and you have to, like when I work in institutions, I've actually trained myself. Like as soon as I walk through that front gate, like everything is left behind.
Have you ever heard of the 1,000-yard stare?
Yes.
Is that a thing?
I think that's, yes. And I think that you definitely see that when people are having like flashbacks or like dissociating. You know,
disassociating, like that is what that is?
Yeah, a lot of the time. So like I know someone close to me, he gets that look and I can tell he's like in another world. Like you checked out.
My daughter calls me out on it all. She did it to me yesterday. And she's like, Daddy, what are you looking at? And I'm like, oh.
Yeah.
Like, it embarrasses me.
Well, and that's what I've heard too. The thing, I think, unfortunately, it's a blessing and a curse, right? Is I'm very sensitive to other people's trauma. So, like, I very quickly will notice, like, if you're sitting in a certain place in a restaurant, if you hear, you know, if you react when, like, a child cries or something, like, I notice that, like, if, you know, a loud plane flies by and, you know, zone out or, you know, whatever, I notice that. And I think that a lot of people don't necessarily notice that stuff. So it's harder for people with a lot of trauma to kind of, like, be without having problems, right? Because when I'm around someone with a lot of, like, trauma or whatever, and I recognize what triggers them, they're a lot more comfortable because I'm also kind of keeping them safe by
like you're pleasant to be around.
Right. And, like, actually, it's funny, we make a joke about it at my house because I'll have friends come over that have, like, a lot going on or, like, you know, traumatic.
Yeah.
And they sleep a lot. And I really think that's because for some reason I'm providing some kind of safe space where they feel comfortable enough to even sleep.
You're right.
It's weird. So, and, like, again, I recognize things. So, like, say that I'm with you and I know that, you know, like, again, you see, like, kids crying or something, and I can kind of, I'll hear it and I'll be like, oh, hey, Hector, blah, 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 blah. You know what I'm doing? So like, cool. Hey, did you see that thing over there? You know what I mean?
You're doing the Lord's work.
And unfortunately, I feel like there's not enough of that. Maybe not enough, like, teaching about it.
There's not.
I mean, I'm a behavior person too. So, like, I notice everything. But when you have someone around like that, you feel safer, like, right? So if you and I are sitting at a table in a restaurant and for some reason you have to have people behind you, like, my friend knows that I'm keeping him safe by scanning too.
Yeah.
So, like,
so quite the opposite, quite the contrary of what you're saying. Not only is there not enough people that are emotionally supportive and mindful as you are, but quite the opposite. I believe that a lot of people encounter people that, what is it called? Exasperate the symptom?
Exaggerate.
Or exasperate the symptom. Like, let's say I'm a CO that suffered trauma, or a military member that suffered trauma, or a former inmate.
Yeah.
But I'm dating a girl that is fucking off the hook. You know what I mean? Just nagging, accusing me of looking around at other bitches when I'm actually just scanning my area.
I don't think some people understand their own trauma and their own triggers and symptoms either.
But we're about to dive into that right now.
Yeah.
Trauma.
Yeah.
I believe one of the first steps is identifying. Would you agree? Identifying what the triggers are and what your trauma was.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's, like, right when people got back from Vietnam, right? I think how many divorces or, like, relationships were just total shit because there was a disconnect of worlds. And not only that, but, like, it was the era of, like, you know, no peace, you know, peace, no war, and you're getting spit at and all this other nonsense that was happening when they got back. So one of the problems was that, you know, wives or whatever, you know, stereotypical, like, would cheat or, you know, divorce or whatever because they didn't understand, you know, someone waking up screaming. Or, you know,
that is so
memory loss.
Yeah, that's so fucked up.
You know, and if someone's, like, if I was married and, you know, someone was waking up in the middle of the night like that, I'm going to figure out what can I do. If I hug you and make you, like, you're safe, you're safe, you're safe, is that, you know, what I should be doing? Granted, it might not go away. It might be there for a long time, but, like, if I can understand it, I also help the other person understand it, and it's a safe space. The problem is that people don't understand, so I don't understand what war is like. I don't understand why you're like this. You're a liar. Your memory sucks. You're this, that, and the other. And you're basically, as that traumatized person, also getting, like, invalidated and basically re-traumatized because you're being, you know, your experience is being invalidated.
This question is going to be directed for you to assist the spouses. If I am Mrs. Jones, wife of Officer Jones or military veteran Jones, and I'm like, hey, Ashley, like my husband, he's fucking weird. He fucking wakes up yelling in the middle of the night. I fucking see him staring off into the... He pretends to not remember shit. He fucking 4th of July, he's like a fucking wounded dog.
Yeah, 4th of July.
What? Now. How can you... What advice do you have to freaking spouses?
It's putting yourself in their shoes. Like, someone doesn't wake up and be like, I'm going to wake up screaming in my sleep and, like, you know, freaking, you know, think I'm dying and it's going to be the greatest thing to bother you. Like, like, nobody's trying to be like that. Like, it's a terrible experience. And then, like, to have someone that's supposed to, you know, it's try to understand it, right? Like, I know that, you know, I don't know why certain triggers are triggers. Maybe the person doesn't want to talk about it, but I know they're there, and I'm going to start to create a space for, like, hey, help me understand why this is, so that I can then, you know, like I was giving an example with kids, like, then I can navigate and I can understand even better whatever happened. Oh, that makes sense with that. Okay. Or, you know, I don't know, like I don't know, what's an example of a trigger?
An alarm at Costco.
Right. So, like, I'm going to be like, oh, shit, like, every time. Because sometimes the other person doesn't even realize they're doing anything, right? So, okay, every time we're in Costco and this fucking alarm goes off, like, you, like, check out. Like, you run out the door.
Yes.
Like, or... now you're being a jerk to me.
Correct.
Like, you start fucking angrily yelling at me and I didn't get the right tomatoes or something, whatever.
No. Facts.
It's kind of being aware of, like, okay, it's not like you don't, it's not like you're choosing to freak out over the fucking alarm, you know? Like, it's not like a choice. So, like, hey, like, okay, all right, so maybe we'll not go to Costco because the alarm goes off.
That makes sense.
So, hey, let's compromise and go to Safeway instead.
Total sense.
You can't force someone into getting over it. Like, and there's no getting over it, right? But you can't force someone to stop getting triggered by an alarm or stop getting triggered by this, that, and the other. It's just how it is. So try to understand it. And, like, memory is a huge thing. Like, like I said, like, one person, I'm like, oh, yeah, I told you that. And then I'm just like, yeah, you don't remember. So I'm just going to tell you again anyways. And, like, recognizing that that's actually a thing. Like, people with trauma have bad memories.
Relationships in general are hard. And now you add trauma to either one of the parties or both parties, and it's that much more difficult.
Yeah, and, you know, it's hard in relationships but to not, like, take things personally. And it's also a lot of work. You know, the other thing is, like, you have to be a special type of person to be able to navigate that in a healthy way. And you have to be open to helping the person work through it. If you just want the person to be a certain way and stop doing that shit, then it's just not going to work out. Like, I can't force you to start remembering shit.
Correct.
Like, it's just going to be the way it is. So if I really care about you and I love you, then I'm going to be like, well, fuck it, I'm going to have to deal with this shit.
Thank you, Ashley.
I don't have to figure out.
Where have you been, Ashley? God bless you.
And actually, to be quite honest, I find the memory problem quite fun because I can literally tell the same story over and over and, like, get kicks out of it.
No, I mean, we're laughing about it now, but that shit fucking damn near I'm not gonna say damn near destroyed my marriage because my marriage is no longer together, but it was a major fucking till this day.
Yeah, memory is a huge...
And not to bash, right? Not to bash or to throw stones.
Right.
We're talking about mental health and real issues.
Right, yeah.
For sure we're talking about real issues. Your boy ain't pretending to be fucking dumb over here.
Yeah.
So...
you just got to understand. You just got to be open to learning and understanding it. And trusting that your partner really is... like, nobody wants to, like, be like, haha, I do remember, but I'm just going to, like, get you to fight with me because I just think it's so much fun for you to yell at me. Like, that's not anything anyone's trying to do.
No, this is also a realistic question in realistic scenarios. In a relationship, if one person suffers a traumatic event and now they're almost using their spouse as a punching bag, is it right for that person to finally say enough is enough and remove themselves from that situation? Because now they are being the victim of either verbal abuse, physical abuse, or mental abuse?
I think so. I don't think that you can get... I don't think that's healthy for you if you're getting beat down by it and not... Yeah, you shouldn't be a punching bag. I mean, you should be able to have a good life. And, you know, just because someone has trauma and they're using it as a punching bag, you can't just be like, well, they have trauma, so...
That's a fucking excellent topic.
You know, like...
Yeah.
It's not an excuse. It's kind of like, oh, well, they're an alcoholic, that's why they beat me. Like, that's not an excuse. Like, it's not okay. Now, granted, it doesn't mean it's the person's fault. Like, they're trying to be like that. Like, trauma causes problems, like, for sure. And a lot of it's unresolved trauma for a lot of people for a long time. So it's not the person's fault for punching, you know, using the person as a punching bag, but that person shouldn't have to stick around just because, oh, well, they're traumatized, so, you know, I'm just going to take it. That's not fair.
Especially if there's children involved and they're observing.
Oh, yeah.
If they're observing that behavior.
Oh, yeah, you can't do it. Yeah, if there's kids around, you can't do that. You have to learn how to communicate or be, you know, it's a healthy decision to leave. And it might be a reason why that person turns around and is like, you know what, I need to change my life. I need to get help.
Right.
Who knows? You know, maybe it's a good thing for both people.
Damn.
Yeah. Yeah, trauma's like...
That's your thing? That's your forte?
Yeah.
So out of it all, what did you come to your conclusion from being that young girl that wanted to get into the mind of psychopath serial killers? What was your conclusion?
Like, what do you mean? What was my conclusion?
Are there a bunch of sick motherfuckers in this world? Is everybody going through something? Can people help each other? Do hurt people hurt people?
All of the above. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. So I did my research for my program for my doctorate on empathy. I developed like a class to build empathy in psychology students because unfortunately it doesn't come with the job. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, there's just, for me, it's like, it's just interesting that just everybody's different. You know, everybody has like.
But you've been given a gift. You've been given a gift. You can see things
it's
the
a
way.
Blessing and a curse. That's where the blessing and the curse comes in.
You see things for what they are, as opposed to. I mean, we just walked through downtown San Diego right now. There's a bunch of homeless people, drug addicted people. I'm sure the way you view that is different than a regular.
Yeah,
person.
I actually couldn't. I didn't like living in San Francisco because not because it was like homeless people,
right?
Because I knew some of their stories without knowing their stories, like the trauma that, you know, and like back in the day that kicked mentally ill people out of the institution, so they're on the street, and you know, it's pretty rare that someone would be like that addicted to drugs and not have some type of trauma, even if it's the trauma's in the streets, right? Because even being in the street is traumatic, like sleeping in danger. And so I couldn't really be there because it's like overwhelming for me to like know all this trauma is happening.
It's because you're seeing the truth.
Yeah, and and there's nothing worse to me than like a homeless vet. I'm sorry.
Really? That has an effect on you? It's
so fucked up. It's like one of the most fucked up shit. I don't understand how we can do that. I don't understand that. That's one thing that I just, if I could say that it would be, you know, tolerated or whatever, I can't tolerate that. How miserable. Not to say that, yeah, no, it is worse. I just think it's totally fucked up.
I get it.
As countries doing, you know, making people go to war and then they get back and get spit on. Like, that's insane.
I get it. I definitely get it. Do you have hope for humanity? Or are you jaded?
I'm pretty jaded. Yeah.
You're jaded, but I mean, I know you and we've talked, and you are a positive person.
Yeah.
You're not a negative person. I wouldn't fucking talk to you if you were a negative person.
Yeah, I've actually gotten people recently. I don't know if I got happy or what. I don't know. Like at my last job, a lot of people were like, you're always smiling and so happy. I mean, like there's different reasons that I've kind of come to be like that, but it's just a fucked up world. And like, I don't know, like just, I try to stay in the present and just be positive and have positive effect on some people if I can.
Dude, you just spoke to probably millions of people. There's 8 million people that have watched the YouTube channel. So like,
oh wow,
yeah, yeah, and I believe.
Hi, 8 million people.
Now you get nervous.
Yeah, right. Like 2 hours later, I'm like, fuck.
No,
you said nobody is watching this, Hector.
I'm a firm believer that things happen for a reason.
Yes, 100%. That's yes. 100%.
And there's a reason why you're here today, explaining to the masses why they need to stop acting like assholes with each other and be more kind.
Can't we just all get along?
Be kind and compassionate.
Can't we just all get along? You never know what someone's internal battles are. You really don't. Like, you just don't know what someone's going through. Like, some people put on a smile and, like, you don't know. You don't know what anyone's been through. Like, one of the reasons I did research on empathy is because I had come in contact with some other peers, and I was just like, what the? Like, how do you? So, like, I had this guy that I worked with. He's, like, one of my favorite clients, and he was a mess. And he was very, like, present. Like, he pissed everybody off. And I did like not my project. For school, we had to do like a case formulation. So like, why is this guy like this type of thing? And we write like a history of their life. And so some of the other people that like my peers like hated him, really, like did not like this dude. Understandable to a degree, but like they're here for help. It's here for help. He's here for a reason. So I read his story in their supervision or whatever, and like it was so bad, someone started crying. And they're like, I didn't know. And I'm like, but this is the problem, is that you should expect that their life is fucked up.
Right.
And go from there.
Right.
Don't feel bad after you hear their story.
Right.
Like, that's not, like, I mean, this guy was like, his mom let drug dealers borrow the truck in exchange for drugs and left him in the back of the truck with a juice box. Like, of course you're going to be fucked up. So you're going to hold him accountable for this shit when we're here to help?
Right.
We should assume the worst. When I meet someone, I should assume that they have some fucked up story that I could never understand and never, like just, you never know. Someone could be totally like, seem like they got their shit together and they got a great job, this and that, and they had like the most terrible history. Like, you never know.
I think people are really good at that too, like hiding.
Yeah.
Masking.
Yeah. I mean, that's unfortunately sometimes what happens with people with a lot of trauma, is that they've learned that it's embarrassing and it's bad and it's, I have to hide this. It's a problem. Like, I can't, if I say I'm a veteran at a job, they might think I'm going to bug out, at the job. So,
right.
that, you know what I mean? Like,
right.
Because people that were in war bug out for some reason. Like, yeah. It's not, I mean, I don't see that as, I mean, just as easily anyone could bug out of a job.
Correct.
Anybody. You don't have to have problems. You could just be crazy. Like, anyone could bug out. It's not, but like there's like a stigma attached, especially to veterans and stuff. Like,
I believe we come a long way though from 2005, because it was non-existent, not talked about. And now we're in 2025 and it's very well known.
Well, yeah. And like psychology and institutions are really focused on like trauma-informed care right now. And it's like trying to recognize, like, granted, it's in the beginning and needs some work, but trying to recognize that trauma exists everywhere.
Is it a good idea for a correctional officer to play foosball with inmates?
Where are they playing foosball?
Where? In prison? Is it a good idea? Like, will that bridge the gap between inmates and correctional officers?
Well, so there's these professionals called recreational therapists.
Okay.
And they got degrees to actually therapeutically do things like that.
Yeah.
Like music and art and video game. They have like video games and stuff, you know? And I think it's kind of, I think a rec therapist should essentially be the leader in a situation like that, honestly. Like, that should be their group. And, you know, and I think it's great, like, to collaboratively work with officers, too. Like, if it's a rec therapist, that's their specialty, collaborate. Oh, hey, you know, this is what we do when we do it, like, therapy-wise.
Right.
And, you know, or, like, you know, behavior-wise, like, right, I was this behavior specialist. If you're doing something behaviorally, you should have someone who's specializes in that type of thing to lead it. Now, I don't know, you know, like, depends on security level and all that too, you know? I mean, for me, it's all about danger. So, like, I don't know. There's certain things that I'm afraid, like, at the end of the day, how likely is it that staff and inmates are really going to be friends?
Not likely at all.
Right. So, like, the chances of something going wrong are pretty high.
Why is it a good idea for correctional officers not to befriend inmates?
I think sometimes it's a safety issue of like complacency, like on the staff's part. You know, you can get along fine with inmates, but you don't have to be their friends. And you're not actually there to be their friend. You're there to do a job. And, you know, and part of the job is interacting well, you know, but that's not about being friend. I mean, that's really friends, you know, technically is an overfamiliar thing.
What about opening the door for manipulation tactics?
Well, that's just rampant because, like, not enough people are trained in manipulation. You know, they hand you, what is it? Anatomy of a motive.
Let me ask you this. We've talked a lot about violence and a lot about trauma, but what about manipulation? What is manipulation? And what type of individuals use those tactics? So
there's different types of manipulation. So, like, I like to say manipulation really is trying to meet a need. So, like, when you're manipulating, you're trying to accomplish something, but it's the intention, right? So, like, if you have a psychopath purposely manipulating someone to, I don't know, bring in weapons, like, you're purposely manipulating someone, you know what you're doing and you're doing it strategically. But then there's manipulation like, oh, you know, I'm going to say that I'm hearing voices to get into mental health
malingering.
Because I owe a drug debt.
Malingering.
Yes, but it's also a survival thing, right? Because I know that I might get killed, so I need to say I'm hearing voices to get into mental health to stay safe. That's different than someone saying,
okay,
you know, I'm going to say I have voices to get into mental health to sell drugs.
Okay.
Like, there's a different, or, you know, a lot of people, like, you know, I'm going to cut myself if you don't, you know, give me whatever. And that's the only way they're getting something done. So, like, wouldn't you expect them to do that if they're going to get what they want because they're like, I'm going to cut myself, you know? So is that manipulation or is that just getting needs met? It's different for everyone. But some people just don't know how to do things other ways. It's a coping mechanism.
Since you're the mental health professional, what are some tactics that correctional officers can utilize to prevent from being manipulated by an inmate?
Well, I think number one is to not isolate yourself.
Meaning?
Talk to your coworkers.
Right.
You know, for all you know, I mean, 3 people could be manipulated at the same time because they don't talk to anybody.
Wow.
By the same person.
That was the most fucking profound thing you've not said, but that it was massive what you just said. Yeah.
Like, one of the problems that I think, you know, is staff get manipulated into relationships or bringing, you know, weapons in or whatever because they're isolated and they know who to do it to, you know.
Right.
They watch you. Like, they're watching you from the beginning.
Correct.
So if I know that, you know, Jane over here barely talks to the other staff or has low self-esteem, you know, they pick up on like, oh, you broke up with your boyfriend or your husband problems or whatever. And the isolation of not talking to people causes problems. Because if we all get together and I'm like, yeah, this guy, he was hitting on me or said something. Oh, he did said that to me too. Oh shit, he said that to me too. Now I'm like, damn, I'm not so special.
Right.
He's doing it to everyone. But they sometimes make you feel special. You think you're special. Like, oh, he likes me. Like, he's probably got 10 other girlfriends in this place. It's like, but people need to talk to each other. And that's one thing too, if you had more of like support groups, then less of that would happen.
Everything you said is gold. Like, I'm sure it's going to help.
Because I'm sure you've been on like in places where, I don't mean to be stereotypical, but say there's like 3, a medical staff and a officer and whatever, 3 females getting manipulated by the same dude and nobody's talking to each other.
Like a player?
I'm going to think I'm special.
Like a player?
Yeah, just like someone who's just manipulate, like, let me see how many people I can manipulate, and knowing that people don't talk to each other. And there's some kind of thing, like, again, where some people just think they're special. And
there's dogs that work in prison systems. Me, I'm a Christian man. Why'd you laugh?
I don't know why. I've always been interested in like how people get manipulated and what would possibly compel you to like want to give up your whole career for a dude that's in a cell.
I've seen it numerous times, more than a handful of times.
I worked with people who were like married. The officer that got fired, they're married to them, and they're like waiting for them to come home. No knocking. I'm not knocking the game, like whatever.
And
but like,
it is a game.
But if you talk to people, people just end up in terrible situations. It's not okay. Like, there's some crime show I was watching like a long time ago, and it was like in North Carolina or something, and they were letting this female nurse be alone with this inmate, like he was cleaning, like a porter or something, and no one was paying attention to them, and she's only like basically with him all day. So what do you think's gonna happen? But I kind of blame the staff, like the supervisors. You weren't protecting this person, and then they saw them like kiss. She gets fired. She ends up on the visitors list because now he's manipulating her. Mm-hmm. So he's like, people are watching you. He's got people going to her house, turning on the lights. That's what people. Just because you're not in there anymore, it doesn't mean that they can't continue to manipulate you.
Right.
You're still screwed. If you leave that prison, you're still screwed. You don't know who people know.
Yeah.
So this guy had like his friends rolling up, whatever. So basically, he manipulated into marrying him.
Damn.
So she couldn't testify against or whatever the rules are. And then he went to court and he got her to come with a gun to try to break him out while they were taking him in and out of the van or whatever. And she shot an officer and killed him. So she went from being this nurse in this prison. And again, I don't think, the supervisors should have stepped in. There's a problem.
Right.
And she got into a situation where she ended up with a murder charge.
Oh my God.
Like
over an inmate too,
and
of all things.
Who, that might have been his primary goal to begin with. That's the thing too. Like, think about the goal. Like, it's all about numbers. Like, if I'm an inmate, I'm going to try it on everybody. I'm going to try it on everyone until I hit somebody.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I got this one over here. Got this one over here. And you have the power to bring stuff in. You have the power to give them some kind of, sexual whatever. Wow. And who wouldn't? You're sitting in prison doing nothing. Why wouldn't you want to do that?
Nothing to lose, everything to gain.
I'd be trying to manipulate all,
me too.
what? Why not? I mean, this person could potentially break you out. They could give you some phones. They could make you some money. You got a place to live when you leave now.
Bring you food from the outside.
Like, why wouldn't you do that?
Cell phone.
And that's the whole thing, is that getting into a whole nother beast.
We are.
It's such a double standard, right? Because in prison, right, as a staff, you're in the power position, right? So even as a female, I know I'm in the power position. if I say had sex with an inmate, no, I'm gonna let inmates know, you are actually raping the inmate. That's rape.
Correct.
Right?
Per the policy, per the law.
So why is it always that the inmate manipulated the female staff, right? But then in a female prison, the male staff manipulated the female inmates.
Yeah.
So why is it always, because to me, as a female staff, I'm manipulating you because I'm taking advantage of my position.
Yeah, in prison, there's no such thing as consensual sex.
Right. So some people are like, oh, well, you know, he manipulated. No. You took this job and you knew that that was wrong.
Right.
In fact, we talk about it constantly.
Right.
Don't sleep with, what advice do you? Don't sleep with it. You know, don't start relationships. And I'm like, ha, ha, ha. No, that's the problem. Mm-hmm. And it gets into this like, oh, I'm the victim. Like, no, you knew going in. The number one thing they tell you is not to have relationships with inmates.
They're only the victims when they get caught.
Or you bring in drugs in, whatever the case may be, you know? And it's that double standard. I don't know. It pisses me off. I don't think it's right. People need to be held more accountable.
We're going to have our own series, you and I, where we talk about current events and topics and mental health and break down true crime events, because that would be freaking awesome. But actually,
I saw you on World's Most Evil Prisoners.
You saw me?
Yes, I was watching because I have it on like background sound.
Yeah, I came on there like 3 seasons already.
I'm at my friend's house, and then I'm like, is that Hector? And I look up on the screen, it's Hector.
Yeah, I'm doing.
I've always wanted to be on a crime show.
Oh, that is pretty big now that you bring that up. But
no, I love those shows, and I was like, no, I literally was not even watching.
I know that fucking guy.
I'm like, I know that fucking voice. That's Hector. Oh my
I know
God.
that dude. But
anyways,
thank you for traveling all the way from New York. I know you had some work stuff over here. Finally coming on, sharing your not just experience, it's wisdom. It's sharing your wisdom.
Yeah, it's fun. No, I'm glad I finally was able to do this.
For sure. And we're gonna catch up again and continue this. So
yeah.
There you guys have it, folks. Probably the most educational episode we've had thus far. With that, if you like what you saw, make sure you hit the subscribe button. Love you. Keep pushing forward.
Unhinged mind, Hector's legend engraved. Living life raw, never been tamed. From the hood to the pen, truth and tales pen. Hector Bravo unhinged, story never ends.